Stay back, he's got blue eyes!
I've always had blue eyes!
Hello there, welcome to Game of Thrones Talk. This is Drew Johnson, and across from me is...
Becky Craigle.
Becky Craigle. We're talking about Game of Thrones today, and just to encapsulate how big the show is and how basically everyone watches it, explain to me how you know me, Dr. Craigle.
Well, I'm not a doctor.
Not a doctor.
I don't even play one on TV. But I know Drew because you were in my American literature class. I teach at KSU. I teach English composition and literature, and Drew has been in my class this semester.
Yeah, so I've known you for like a few months now, and like the first thing it's crazy because you even mentioned in class, the one thing we can all relate to basically is Game of Thrones, or at least knowing that the new, unless you're living underneath a rock right now, you at least know that the new season is back, and it's the final season of like the TV's most popular shows.
And probably the last show that will ever be this popular, where so many people watch it at the same time and so many people are aware of what's going on it. And I'm always looking in my literature classes especially to find ways that I can relate stories and ideas about telling stories to things that students are familiar with. So Star Wars works pretty well, but Game of Thrones works great.
Yeah, exactly. So just real quick, we're going to cover season 8 episode 1 today. We're literally having this between Dr. Craigle's class, Professor Craigle's classes today. So we're going to try to be quick as we can to talk about 15 minutes of the most highly stuffed pack episode of Game of Thrones, most likely. But real quick, so do you have a history of the show? Obviously, I just started watching the show like basically last summer and watched it all like in a month and a half. So I've had to wait I've had to wait like a good year, but for big fans, it's been like almost 2 years of a wait for the show. Have you just been on pins and needles in the last 20 months?
No, I actually watched it even more recently than you did.
Oh,
because
really?
I would have watched it from the beginning. I remember being interested in it, but we didn't have HBO.
Mm-hmm.
And we only finally got HBO last summer, and then I started watching it over Christmas break, the day after Christmas. And I think I figured out we watched all 67 episodes in about a month.
That's crazy, yeah. Because, this is the first time I've ever watched an episode of Game of Thrones and not just be like, okay, next episode, because like
I know.
I have to actually wait. It's like, oh yeah, patience. This is like when I watched cartoons as a kid, because cable is basically dead now. So all my millennials are just used to instant gratification and just binge. But like I'm like, I gotta wait and digest and like have to wait like on the biggest cliffhanger probably the show will ever have. Like, you thought the Red Wedding was a cliffhanger? How about Jon Snow finding out that he's Aegon Targaryen?
I know, absolutely crazy. And having to wait a whole week, you're right. When I'm used to binging things, and it even happens with other shows now that I like I liked Barry on HBO, and I always have to wait a week, and I'm like, but that's not right. Everything's supposed to be available, just like on Netflix.
You watch Barry?
Barry's great.
I love
Barry's
Barry.
Great.
Barry has, what's the comedian's name? It's I can't look at the word.
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader as an assassin.
Right.
We might talk about that because I love that show.
Yeah.
Sweet. So season 8, episode 1 just happened last night. I was so excited to watch it. Man, it was like, what was your opinion on the episode in general?
I thought in general it was very good. I really liked it. I think there were a couple of points that were kind of slow and a couple of things that confused me, but that's sort of always the way it is, and then they'll make sense later, I think. For example, Bran sitting out in the courtyard the whole time, and is Bran not like the creepiest dude ever?
Yeah.
He's creepy.
Like, he can't say, I see dead people, because he sees everything. So he sees dead people, currently alive people, and maybe the future. It's not that clear.
Right. Yeah,
That's
we weren't sure when he was seeing things. Like, I don't know if he has seen anything in the future. If so, we don't know it yet.
Yeah, so generally you liked it? Like, it's kind
yes.
of, my opinion, it is kind of a setup. Every season, every first episode is kind of like, I wouldn't say like it leaves a cliffhanger for the rest of the season, because we're obviously going to watch the rest of the season, but it is kind of thing is like every opening episode is kind of like set up like here's everybody is and stuff. But I feel like some scenes were kind of wasted where it's like, okay, we have 5 hours left in this world. We're going to spend it watching Dany and Jon be all mushy, and like Careless Whisper starts playing as they fly back the dragon. And
yeah, I really did think the thing about the dragons them flying on the dragons. I hope that had a point. I think it probably had the point of establishing the fact that at some point Jon will have to fly a dragon in the battle, so they had to establish that he had done it.
That's the only thing, right? It's not like, imagine if like Jon just fell off of like Rhaegal.
Right. I thought that was going to happen. I mean,
That's
I
so
knew it wouldn't, but
Yeah.
it looked kind of scary. But I thought the scene, it was not their best work. And much like you're saying, that I'm thinking it's like every minute counts so much. And they had a lot to establish. They had a lot of people to meet up again for the first time in a long time. And so they had a whole lot to do to get people there in the right place. And so, yeah, but I really hate that I'm counting down and thinking, oh, I only have so many minutes of this show left that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, so there's so much left Game of Thrones, but I don't want to waste any more time of Tyrion making ball jokes with like Varys for like the 20th time. Which, like, we get it, Tyrion, you love that joke, but it's going to kind of old and boring at this point.
Yeah, but did you think, though, that was a little bit meta in that
Varys.
Yeah, the way that they said...
Varys says, like, oh, do you have any more jokes than that, Tyrion? Like, winks to the camera. And
right, exactly. It was kind of like that.
It's so strange because, like, people have complained that Tyrion post-book, and, like, so, like, compare Tyrion to Season 2 and Season 6... It's like Tyrion's kind of less material to use. I'm like, maybe he hasn't. I don't know. Because he's a big player. Like, guess what? So this is crazy, I heard. Jon Snow has the most screen time on the show. And guess who is in second place for most screen time?
I'm guessing it must be Tyrion.
It's Tyrion. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But, like, he's not even a king or anything.
But he's definitely been my favorite character for probably since the first season. That developed really quickly. And I do think there's been less for him to do ever since Dany came back when they were in Meereen, and he and Varys kind of had to take care of Meereen while she was away.
Very poorly, might I put.
Very poorly, right. But he's had, well, and in season 7, he did have to go when they took the White to see Cersei. And that was important, but it does seem like the parts maybe not quite as juicy as it once was.
Unless he ends up on our throne, as far as we know.
Right. We have no idea.
But yeah, that was our general thoughts of the episode. I think we might just get into the highlights now, of course. I think, you got a favorite scene generally? So much great stuff, though.
I know there was probably Arya and Jon.
Oh, yeah, that was sweet.
Yeah, that was really, really, I'd been waiting for that. I think everybody who watches was really waiting to see that, and so that was pretty awesome.
Because, like, you know, when Sansa saw Jon season 6, they're like, Sansa's like, sorry, I was kind of mean when we were kids and stuff. But, like, you know, Arya and Jon, like, and this is the kind of thing where the show has gotten to this point where it can reference the first episode. There's always kind of like maybe like the 100th episode of a TV series will like reference the first episode. And like they reference a lot because a king and queen arrive at Winterfell, just like in season 1 when Robert Baratheon, the king, arrived with Cersei Lannister, the queen, at the time, and just see how much stuff has changed.
Right, absolutely. And how in that episode, in the pilot episode, when Bran was climbing up to see that they were coming, just like that little kid at the beginning of this episode. And also, Arya was missing both times. She was missing when Cersei and Robert Baratheon got there in the pilot, and now she was missing again when Jon Snow came in. So I do think that kind of thing, it's nice to call back to those older episodes, and it really rewards people who watch the show carefully or who have seen it multiple times. And I like those kinds of things from just, they're fun and also helping to tell the story. The narrative of it is really helped by those kinds of callbacks to previous things. But
yeah, that scene of Arya and Jon really got to me because like you just look at the first season, like Arya's a baby. Like she was like my age when this first started. Now she's like 21 or something. But my favorite scene probably, I mean, the Aegon reveal was awesome of Sam, but I think when Dany was talking to Sam, and, like, Sam hasn't gotten that much stuff to work with, like, acting-wise. He's always been like, oh, hello, Jon, I want to be a wizard someday. I'm not very good at fighting. Like, the first season, he's so whiny. But, like, when, like, Dany told him that his dad was dead, he's like, oh, my dad was kind of a jerk. It's unfortunate. At least my brother's in charge. And she says,
I know.
Yeah, your brother's dead with him, too. And, like, just seeing him, like, just looking at his lips quiver, like, after he found out his brother was dead. Like, poor man. God, that stinks because, like, Dany has done some pretty black and white stuff of, like, hey, you guys had slaves? Well, you're all dead. Like, imagine if someone from Asia came to colonial America in 1861 and was like, oh, you guys all have slaves? Every single white person is dead now.
Right,
like,
right.
I
Just
mean,
dead. We're going to kill you all.
and I'm not saying that, like, Westeros is more complicated than Essos, because slavery is always bad. But, like, at least in Essos, you're like, oh, you're a slaver, you're automatically bad. But, like, for, like, in Westeros, like, Randall Tarley, oh, you decided to fight with the queen of your own land and not a foreign invader? Well, you're dead. Like, I hope there's some things where, like, Jon talks with Dany, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't execute prisoners, because I just love that scene so much.
Remember, Tyrion tried to talk her out of that too. So I think that kind of thing, it's coming home to roost now in a very uncomfortable way. And that's one of the great things about this show, is things like that pay off eventually. And it is difficult, I think, for Jon to understand her willingness to, or her desire to kill those people rather than give them any other option than bending the knee right then. And Tyrion tried to tell her, and there are some things Tyrion was right about, I think, that she should have listened. But so, you know, we'll see. But I don't think Jon is going to, he probably doesn't even know about that, and you know, until Samwell told him.
Yeah, because it's crazy, because, like, Jon, like, he's been, like, he was never nobility at all. Like, you know, he was the bastard son of Ned Stark, but still everyone, like, when, like he decided to help the wildlings, and he got killed for his trouble for trying to help people. But, like, Dany, it's like, Dany's always been might makes right, because, oh, I have 3 dragons. What are you going to do about it, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like, she didn't have a villain to flesh her out, really, in Essos. It was just a bunch of very tan dudes being like, oh, you're a woman, how dare you, and we're slavers, blah, 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 and being all misogynist and stuff, and racist and sexist and slavers. But, like, Dany has never been, like, really roasted and be like, hey, like, there's been a few moments where, like, a slaver's son will be like, hey, you murdered my dad even though he was a good slaver, and she's like, how could he be a slaver and be a good person? Where it's like,
yeah, she does see things in a very black and white kind of good versus bad, which, if she's right, slavers are bad.
Absolutely.
But and Randall Tarley was not a good person in just the way he treated Samwell.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just standing up for who he believed in, and especially Dickon. When Dickon
didn't have to die.
Yeah, I got what she was saying when she said then that, well, we're not taking prisoners and everything, but Tyrion was right when he tried to tell her not to do that. He was right about that, although she certainly sent the message she was trying to send to those
Yeah.
people at that time. But it seems sometimes that she's impulsive and doesn't necessarily think everything through. And that's not good.
It's still good to have someone at this point in the story where that is so, like, pragmatic about, like, what she thinks is right is absolutely right. Because kind of the whole thing of Game of Thrones is that everything's kind of like a gray. Everyone becomes gray as the show goes on. So, like, Jaime Lannister, like, I don't know how you feel about him. I think that he raped his sister above the corpse of his dead son, which wasn't great. But he also saved all King's Landing. Like, good, great characters like that, for Dany to be like, Jaime Lannister, you pushed Bran out of a window. How dare you're going to get beheaded this episode? And he's like, not this episode. I have so much character development to do. And she's like, no,
right.
You're gonna get burned alive right now. It's so weird to me that, like, Dany can, because Dany's pretty gray at this point too. Now that she's killed, like, not taking prisoners in war is insane. But we'll get to all that in just a second here. Anything? Were you disappointed in anything? That any reunions that happened? Anything that didn't happen? Like,
I think I was more surprised that Samwell, when he had to reveal the truth to Jon about his parentage, that he almost seemed to do it out of anger. I mean, he was going to have to do it anyway, but it was right after he found out about Daenerys, and then he used that to compare Jon and Daenerys. And I'm surprised, but maybe a little disappointed in it in terms of the story, because Samwell doesn't strike me as somebody who would try to hurt someone, and I find that a little confusing. Like, I don't think he was trying to hurt Jon, but he was so angry when he told him the truth that I think it kind of confused things for me a little bit.
what Sam's motivation is? Because I feel like, I definitely feel like him knowing the truth about Dany and his dad and his brother, when he stormed off and talked to Bran, like, hey, we should tell Jon immediately. And then Bran's like, I don't know if we should do that, and stares off into distance or whatever. It is, it definitely, I think that when Danny told Sam, it definitely gave him more of an incentive to do that, and also kind of made it more important for him to go tell John the truth, so that way we don't have Danny as a ruler who's just killing everybody.
Right. I guess that's what surprised me, is that instead of just being this meek person that Sam has been all along, it sort of showed a different side of him. So I guess I wouldn't say I was disappointed in that so much as surprised at the character. You know, I like to still feel like the character, even when they change and grow over time, that it is still inside the same character. And I don't know, I felt that was a little odd for me, but that's really nitpicky because overall I think everything was good. Right. I thought the dragon thing with John riding the dragon just did go on way too long, and it looked like, I think, was it you who said earlier there's a Disney movie looking thing?
It looked, I think the CGI wasn't that good compared to the season 7, episode 7, where she got off Drogon.
Right, exactly.
I don't know, it's weird. But I think I was surprised because I kind of had this all built up in my head how it would go, because obviously I've been waiting for such a long time that it's kind of like the Star Wars movies. It's like you can never live up to the hype of what episode 8 would be. Like, Last Jedi isn't my Star Wars movie or whatever.
Right.
But I was so surprised that Bran and Sam didn't say hi to John when John first arrived. That was pretty weird. Yeah. Like
I said, they had so many characters to have meet back up that they almost needed a whole receiving line at the beginning.
Yeah, it's almost like you're playing with all your toys, but like you can't mash them together all at the same time to fight them. But I mean, if I was Bran, or maybe not Bran because Bran's a robot, because like I'm thinking like when John's being all lovey-dovey with Danny for like a whole like day or a few days and stuff, like, and like maybe he didn't know like they slept together again, like, and Sam didn't tell them the second John arrived.
Right.
John's like, you guys couldn't have told me right before I kissed her again.
Exactly. Right before we ran off to the cave, and we know what John does in caves.
Yeah,
so
like, you know, that whole reveal is awesome though, because like just seeing Kit Harington's face. Like Kit Harington is weird because he's kind of the actor that they've got only for this show, basically. And I don't know if you've seen him in anything else.
I've never seen him in anything else.
But like just seeing him like kind of laugh off, like, Lyanna Stark was my mom, what? And just like seeing his like face, it's almost like kind of like the Breaking Bad of Hank, where like Hank finds out that Walt is Heisenberg, because like you kind of wonder like, does John have this kind of idea that that's true in his head this whole time, and he's never put it together? Because you think like Ned Stark brought back a bastard son, quote unquote bastard son, and like Lyanna's dead, and he buries her body in Winterfell. Like, hey, isn't John like the same 9-month span that Rhaegar Targaryen quote unquote raped your sister? And he's like, I'm the Lord, shut up, and has a sword to the guy's throat. But a good question for you: do you think the Northern Lords are pretty justified in being Lyanna Mormont, of course, just laying down the law, like, oh, John, you promised we gave you we told you left as a king and you came back as a, I don't know even what you are. Like, do you think that's fair?
I absolutely think that it's fair in terms of the world that they live in, and in the bad feelings that have gone before, and within the story. Do I think that they're being awfully short-sighted? And I love Lyanna. I mean, it's hard for me. Lyanna Mormont is awesome. But I don't think that... It's certainly, I guess it's understandable. That's what I would say about it. It may not be fair, and it may not even be justified, I guess, but it certainly is understandable because they don't like outsiders, as John has told us 100 times now. And they wanted him to be king in the North, but he's right. He never asked for it. And so I think it's understandable because these people haven't actually seen the Army of the Dead.
Exactly.
And I think that it's hard to wrap their heads around it, even though they're being told. I don't think they really get it.
And I'm just thinking about like putting myself in their shoes. Like, imagine if Donald Trump went to North Korea and he brought Kim Jong-un back. It's like, hey, Kim Jong-un's our king now. We're like, wait, what? Because that would be crazy. But at the same time, I'm thinking this like, guys, it's the apocalypse. Like, I get how you need to know who you're fighting for, but like the apocalypse is literally happening like in 3 days. Are we really gonna like not prepared.
No, you're right. But I'm not sure they really understand that.
I mean, maybe Jon should have brought 2 White Walkers,
Right.
one for Cersei and one for his people.
Right.
Because it's the annoying thing where it's like, I'm your king, but only because you made me, but it could just switch back in like 6 seconds.
Yeah, you either trust me or you don't. So I liked that speech. What did you think about Tyrion then getting up to talk to them when nobody likes the Lannisters?
Yeah, like so Tyrion, I mean, he's always been the guy who like makes sense or tries to talk things down, or like when people have a disagreement, he's always able to just be like, but actually logic. But he's like, don't worry, guys, the Lannister army, and he's like, listen, I know we've had some trouble in the past, and then
Just
like
a little trouble.
Lyanna coughs, red wedding, and like throws a brick at the Tyrion. It's not how you make people more happy.
You're right. He's usually very good at that, and I think he was a little overconfident. But for him to step in and try to be the voice of reason to these people, I was like, that was one of those times, like you said, sometimes he makes some bad decisions, and that was probably one of them.
And everyone's valuable and stuff,
Yeah.
but like the politics of this, I just feel like the politics at this point of Game of Thrones, like compared to season 2, where it's like, gotta get ready for Stannis, like, you know, now where it's like, gotta get ready for White Walkers and Cersei eventually, but everyone needs to chill out. Like the politics don't, like Jon keeps saying like, the North doesn't matter. Only thing that matters is the North. Like, it is, Jon, but like these Northern Lords are so fickle. This just proves that the system of government does not work. Like I completely get it, but like the politics at this point of the show are just kind of like, because we can't guess what's going to happen, like for politic wise, you know? Like,
right, you're right.
Because
Absolutely.
going back to the Aegon reveal, if Jon reveals that he's Stark and Targaryen, first of all, do the Northern Lords accept it? I think they would, because you're still Ned Stark's blood through Lyanna. But I don't think the Targaryens would accept it at all. Like, what is Dany going to do?
I don't know, because she wants that Iron Throne and Jon doesn't. But he's the one who makes the most sense. So what did you think of that conversation between Jorah and Ser Davos about a proposal?
Yeah, I think it was this one was Davos, Tyrion, and
Varys,
Varys,
right? Yeah,
because
you're
like
right. Yeah.
Ser Davos wants basically Jon and Dany to marry and like share the Iron Throne. Was that they implied? 'Cause they said marriage.
Yes. Well, and he said, "What if?" Or one of them said, "What if we had
A
an
just
honorable
king,
man
yeah.
and a just," or something like that, ruling together? And I assume that would be a first. But at that point, they don't know that they are aunt and nephew, though, for one thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I don't think she's going to respond really very well to it, because there's a couple of issues here. I assume she's pregnant.
Yeah, because
also
because of course there's been a time jump, because of
right.
course in the first episode they established the King's Road is about a month from Winterfell to King's Landing. They did take a boat and stuff, so I'm guessing maybe it's a month. But
yeah, I couldn't quite figure it out. But then when we saw Jaime at the very end,
got kind of a beard,
a pretty long beard.
Yeah, pretty significant.
So I don't know timing-wise about how much time was supposed to have passed.
But enough where you could tell where if Dany doesn't have like her time of the month.
Well, yeah, I mean, and also though, because she doesn't think she can have children, because she definitely believes that, it may not even be something that's occurring to her at this point. But I don't know how much time has passed. But I think I would be very surprised if she's not pregnant. But this story has always loved to turn what you expect on its ear, and not do what you expect. So maybe she's not.
Because luckily, since like I feel like season 6 was a lot of like, okay, Cersei's gonna lead obviously, and Jon's gonna win about bastards. But after season 7 and 6, like this is the season where like anything, like as far as we know, Jorah's gonna just slip on a banana peel and fall down the staircase and just die.
Right.
Like,
right. Exactly. Anything could happen. So maybe she's not, but I think most people watching season 7, when they got together and knowing the truth about them, finding out the truth about them, even though they didn't know, it's like, oh, well, she's totally pregnant. Plus they made such a big deal out of her saying to Jon earlier, oh, I can't have babies. And she said, well, he says, who told you that?
Do you think that which was a reliable
that was not
piece
a reliable
of information?
source?
And then winks to the camera and
like,
holds a pregnant test in the air and throws it around.
Right. So it seems like she would be, but also, and I don't know from the Stark point of view, the Targaryens always had sibling marry sibling to keep the blood pure.
Yes.
But the Starks don't see things that way.
Yes. I'll ask you a important question, which might determine how we feel. Like, do you want Dany to be like? Do you want Dany to be pregnant?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because, like, I mean, obviously the show's going to happen no matter what we think, but, like, I don't, because incest is kind of bad in my opinion.
Well,
It's very bad.
but in this world, apparently, they don't, like, other than Joffrey being evil, which could happen to any child, I guess, and Jaime and Cersei's children are normal.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the Targaryens, now, I guess there is some hint, or they may have actually said at some point that's why the Mad King went mad.
Yeah,
because of all the incest and everything. But, I don't know. I don't
We
really
don't know, and we're going to find out.
Know.
Like, this is the one thing where
Right.
it's like, I can't imagine being in season 6 where it's like, oh, I wonder if Jon's going to win or die again.
Right.
Like, this is like, we have no idea because Dany is a good person, but will she bend the knee just like Jon did?
Right.
I don't think she will. Her pride's too strong. Is she going to be the Mad Queen into the season and
Well,
Jon has to kill her?
oh,
Jaime kills her?
no.
He's
Oh,
a
no.
Kingslayer and a Queenslayer?
I don't know, because he wasn't, he was a Kingslayer, but as we found out, but he doesn't like to tell people what really happened.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. And that kind of, Daenerys is not going to be happy that Jaime is there. Because
he
right.
killed her father.
Right. Yeah. So
Dany is not going to give in.
No, she's I love that she has gone from this meek little young girl, really, basically. I mean, they made her much older in the show than in the books, where she was only 13, but they knew they couldn't do that. But she to become a badass and really a strong woman, which is good. But as you said, one of the things that's good about this is the characters aren't all evil or all good. There's a mix in them, and that's just like regular people. But I don't know really what she won't bend the knee, I don't think, to him. And
she has like never had a compromise, because she's like, excuse me, slavers of Slaver's Bay, do you have 3 full-grown dragons? Dracarys.
Right, right.
Has she ever had a compromise? Because even Tyrion was like, we should compromise with these slavers who are totally good people who honor their word. We'll stop slavery in 7 years. It's like Dany rocks up with 1,000 Dothraki screamers and like 100,000. She's like, actually, I think we're just going to Dracarys it all and end slavery and call it Bay of Dragons.
Right, yeah, exactly. And so she doesn't listen to him again?
Will she compromise? She won't. She won't.
I'm afraid she won't. And I'm afraid that's very bad news for her relationship with Jon.
So I guess it wraps up right there for at least Dany and Jon's plot there. Because that's one of the main things, obviously. Because it's not like, ooh, I wonder if Arya and the Hound are going to hug and tickle. But obviously the whole Aegon and the Targaryen reveal was what we're waiting for, and the fallout of that. We'll talk about just more random stuff now, but what do you think of Cersei and what kind of her plan is? Because like Qyburn even says at one point, like, oh, don't worry about the Dragon Queen. Cersei has a plan with that, and winks at the camera and points to a little picture of a crossbow. It has 6 crossbows attached to it or whatever. But
yeah, what was that thing? The last thing he designed didn't work very well at all.
Yeah, well,
right?
It can only work so well. Like, what do you think Cersei's main plan is? What do you think?
She likes to blow stuff up.
Yes, true.
And we know that there's probably lots more wildfire still available, but I don't know how, unless you're able to figure out how to shoot that wildfire into the dragon. I don't know, because I assume their dragons are going to make it to King's Landing at some point, but I'm not even sure about that. But what her plan is, oh my gosh, I have no idea.
Yeah, and I think what the general feeling of the show, how it's going to go, at least the broad strokes of the war, is that there's going to be a big fight at Winterfell. It's going to be awesome, but then the leftovers have to fight Queen Cersei.
Right.
Do you think that's kind of what they're building towards? Do you think it's going to be like, oh, Cersei's attacking for a fleet, we're screwed, as the White Walkers are attacking? You think that Cersei's going to keep to her plan where she's going to be like, I'm going to stay out of the north until they come to me?
I think that's probably her plan, because she probably feels like she can make a better stand right there, where she is. And I did think it was interesting that Yara said to Theon, well, we'll go to the Iron Islands and get ready in case she needs to retreat to somewhere.
Yeah.
She can come there. I don't know if it means that's going to happen. Again, there's only a few episodes left. I don't know how all of this can happen.
And what you said is, like, since Jon flew on a dragon. It's almost like that's obviously like set up like, well, he'll ride Drogon after Dany dies. To set up kind of him riding a dragon for the first time. So like if everything's said in every scene, like Yara saying like we need somewhere place to retreat to. It's like maybe they'll lose the White Walkers and like the White Walkers will just attack Cersei while they're on the Iron Islands. I don't know.
Oh wow! Maybe the dead will learn to swim.
That's such a weird thing too, because like Essos is just partying up, like Dario just having like crazy parties.
Right, yeah. Like, we assume.
Yeah, because like I looked it up. Like Essos like is basically like the tropics compared to like Europe, which is Westeros. So like, is it going to be affected by a long night? Is they going to freeze the ocean and cross the ocean?
Oh wow! Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that.
It's crazy because like White Walkers, they're powerful, they're the most dangerous thing we have, but can't cross an ocean.
Right.
Can't shoot arrows.
Right, but you're right. It could freeze up, and it could be that cold down there because remember, in Dany's vision that she had, there was deep snow in King's Landing.
Yeah, that's right. Or ashes. Yeah.
Yes, right. And it could have been ashes falling, and it appeared that the throne room didn't have a roof, although it was kind of hard to tell exactly what was going on there. So you got to think, well, that figures into it somehow, but I don't know.
What'd you think of Cersei this episode in general?
She was Cersei.
She was definitely.
Cersei was Cersei.
Do you think she's pregnant?
I don't know. I hate how I don't know. Do I think that she is? I think she was when she first said it.
Oh,
I'm not so sure anymore.
Did she because it's strange because I thought maybe she'd use it on just Jaime because like this is like her last card to play because she killed their last son.
Exactly,
Tommen.
right.
So, but then Tyrion points out and like notices with his Sherlock skills and X-ray vision, I'm guessing, and looks at her placenta used or whatever, like, oh, you're definitely pregnant because I'm a cool guy.
Was she just trying to
pretend
get him to think that though? I mean, Cersei doesn't do anything that isn't on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't think. And she starts rubbing her little tummy there. It's like, I don't know. But is she trying to win a sympathy?
She's a master, I guess. I mean.
Right. So I don't know. But I think that maybe she really was in the beginning. There was that weird scene not long before she told Jaime that she was pregnant where Qyburn was with her when Jaime went in and he said to her, well, I could give you something.
What?
Yeah, but that was all there was. I could give you something.
Man, it's interesting because like she like slept with Euron willingly,
right?
Which I was surprised about because like I guess she she likes keeping the family as we know,
right?
But,
right.
Which is because Euron's so funny. She like she says you're the most arrogant man I've ever met. Like she says like oh you want to sleep with me? I've executed men for less or whatever, and he's like I'm not lesser men and stuff. I'm like dang. Yeah. We're out of Ramsay Bolton's currently, so I'm sure the writers are just having fun. I'm like what's the most arrogant thing that Euron can say? And he's like how do I compare with your brother Cersei? And like what's up? And
right. Well, what do you think changed her mind? Because she was walking out of that room having told him, no, too bad, dude.
I think maybe she's just like screw it because I don't know. She doesn't have any more family.
Yeah, right. There's nobody else to hang out with. I don't know, except Qyburn, and that would be weird. Or the Mountain.
Oh God.
So maybe so. Maybe she just wanted somebody to warm her up. Maybe she thought that he really would just turn around and leave because he definitely has his own ideas about things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe she thought that was the only way to get him to stay. But she definitely, I think when she got up and walked towards leaving that room that she had no intention of doing that, and then she changed her mind.
Yeah, strange. Because I feel like Cersei, like she's had her biggest arcs, blowing up the Sept of Baelor and stuff, and that's kind of her moment of triumph. I feel like now it's just like, well, I guess you're just gonna get killed by Jaime in episode 6 or whatever. You know, like it's weird because she doesn't have any more conniving to do. Where it's like, oh, she has some plans, obviously. And did you see that meme where they re-edited Cersei's face on Dany's face, and it's a big capital letters, "Where are my elephants?"
No, that's great.
She was so mad about that.
Mad about the elephants, but which I figured was just the cost of somehow bringing the elephants.
HBO's being like, listen, we can afford 6 dragons and spending $66 million on each episode. Oh, we can't have elephants or any dire wolves. That'd be crazy. Right.
No elephants. No elephants.
No dire wolves.
I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see elephants later. I don't think
we
it's going to be a
won't.
surprise. But yeah, that was great.
It's weird though because the show looks like $1 trillion. Just like everything looks amazing, and like this is like HBO's last big boat to put like we can afford having the show Barry starring Alec. What's his name? Sorry, I forget. Barry starring Bill Hader.
Bill Hader, yeah.
But we can't. Oh, we can put like $3 million in each, like $1 million into each episode of that. But we can put 17 trillion in each episode of Game of Thrones. Like you can't afford elephants. Come on, this is
Right,
your last.
you can't go from 17 to 18 trillion.
I guess
right.
so. But yeah, so how do you feel about like if Arya stabbed a pregnant lady? Do you think there's any moral ambiguity about that, or it's like we hate her all anyway? So I'm kind of curious.
Well, I think that Arya went down the moral ambiguity path already a long time ago.
Well, if Drogon ate a pregnant woman, it's kind of weird because as far as the internet goes, it's like, oh, Ramsay's the worst. We want to see him skinned alive inch by inch. But like if it's a pregnant woman, people are
people tend or like Ramsay with his stepmother because she was completely innocent, and the baby, and she was completely innocent. But I don't know. I think that although there have been some things to try within the story to try to explain why Cersei is the way she is, she's not a sympathetic character in my opinion at all. And I think however she gets it, people are going to like it, whether she's pregnant or not pregnant. I don't think anybody's going to care.
Man.
But I may be wrong.
Yeah,
but
so
she's not sympathetic.
Yeah, she's not. I can't see anything where she'd be like, Jamie, but I love you. Then Jamie stabs her in the back and kills another queen and king or whatever.
I think whatever love she had for him, she has lost her ability to have even that.
Mm-hmm. It's all Euron now.
Right, it's all Euron.
Smooth sailing from here.
No love for Euron, just a use for him.
Yeah, speaking of great segues about sailing, were you surprised that Theon's like, hey people, we're just going to have Theon save his sister like in 6 seconds. Problem solved.
Oh, yeah, took care of that, so that won't take much longer.
That was easy.
Yeah, that didn't take up many of our precious minutes.
Yeah.
It was so easy once they got there, and we didn't see any part of it. Just all of a sudden there are people getting shot through the throat, and then she's free. So I was even wondering, though, I'm sure we'll see Theon again, but will we even see Yara again if they don't go to the Iron Islands? Right. So I wondered if that was the last we'll see of her. I think she's a great character.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And so I was glad to see her get rescued, but it was sort of anticlimactic, I guess.
Luckily, Yara is in charge. She's still like the queen/leader of like this. There's 3 ships still loyal to her.
Yeah, so whoever is left, I assume so. Yes.
Anything you want to say about that, about Yara and Theon and what
no,
Theon
I'm
might do?
just curious if that really was it for her. He's obviously got more story. But
his hair got longer.
It got a lot longer. Again, how
Fabio.
much time passed?
A month and a half?
Right.
I mean, hair grows
his
fast.
hair grew really fast.
Real quick, do you think Arya gave a blueprint to Gendry? And she's like, hey, Gendry, this really cool blueprint of a gun or something, that it won't be important when I've killed the Night King. Wink, wink at the camera. What do you think that was? Did you notice that weird blueprint?
I saw it, and I couldn't really make much out of it. And I'm not sure if it was supposed to be something made of dragon glass, but I assume so.
Yeah, because she even wrote, like, there's like a big, like, spiky thing, and she even wrote like a little arrow pointing and it said dragon glass.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
so yeah, you can see a lot better than I can, and I didn't freeze it. But okay, so I don't know what kind of weapon it would be then, but she did make a big deal out of how Jon's Valyrian steel sword was too heavy for her. Mm-hmm. Maybe she wanted
like because I apparently heard in the trailers there's a scene of like maybe Arya using like a spear of some kind that has dragon glass.
That could be right.
And it's weird because like Tormund and stuff by the end like has just a sword, like bare, like naked steel. But like, don't you guys should all be having swords with dragon glass?
Oh,
and stuff?
right, exactly.
And, like, is there enough dragon glass for 100,000 Dothraki screamers? Like, because the unsullied spears are useless,
Right.
It's interesting how that all works like that, because you just gotta think like, you need like every dragon glass you can. Like, people are obviously preparing this whole episode, but by the way, I theorized that weird like thing he gave, that blueprint. It's kind of like a cool dart shooter she shoots from her wrist or something.
Oh, yeah,
because it almost looked like it was separate, but yeah,
a superhero thing.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Yeah. What do you think? I think I kind of compared this. I made this comparison in my head just a minute ago, but like, Jon hasn't seen Bran or Arya in like 4 years at the least, right? Like a long time.
Yeah,
and that's
a really long
enough
time.
for Arya to hit puberty and like grow like a foot and become 10 years older.
Right.
But like she's like, hey, it's like almost like your son coming back from college is like, hey, check out my new girl. We're gonna get married soon. And like, oh great, can we catch up? I want to hang out first. See you guys later.
Right.
Like he hasn't seen Arya or Bran in years. He's like, hey, there's a hot chick I'm dating. She's not related to me, so we're gonna hang out for a while.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, man.
I know. But there was just so much emotion built up, and so much in the time they were apart. And I love how in that scene at the Godswood, where he saw that Arya still has Needle, and he said, "Oh, did you use it?" And I'm going, my God, did she use it?
Yeah, her face when she said like once or twice, like she like you just see like like her eyes glaze over, like I'm not the little girl you used to know, you know. So when she starts like capping fools in King's Landing, John's like, holy crap, man, how are you wearing Peter Baelish's face? That's crazy.
Exactly, and then I don't know. He doesn't know all of that stuff, and I realize it's obvious he wouldn't know all of that stuff, but it's weird as the character. Like, you're right, like you said, why don't they sit down and talk about these things?
Yeah, are we gonna get a moment of like, because I look back, like Theon never got a moment of like Yara telling him that Ramsay Bolton was dead. I would like to see his reaction to Ramsay, but like we never saw Varys' reaction to Littlefinger being dead, so he could like, you know, hold his hands, be like, oh, I guess the mockingbird finally became the spider, tangled in his own, and be all, you know, profound. And
yeah. So there's just a lot. There's
so
many characters.
So much. Like that's why I think people need to die. Like when people need to die for us to make it simpler. Like when that big meeting, that town hall meeting between like Tyrion's like, we bought the greatest army in the world, 100,000 mouths to feed, and Sansa's like, excuse me, I didn't account for the greatest army the world's ever seen. I think it's funny because I just think in my head, I'm like, half of you are going to die in like the next 2 episodes.
Right, it won't matter. You won't have to feed anybody.
Feed that many people.
Yeah. You won't need to feed them for very long.
Did you think that, remember in that scene, Sansa's like, what do dragons eat anyway? And Dany turns is like, whatever they want. Yes. And like Jon like tugs his collar and sinks into his chair in between them, like, come on, get along, you two.
Right.
Like for Dany to be like, your sister doesn't like me, and Jon could have been like, yeah, because you were kind of a little bit mean.
Yeah, you're a little bit annoying. And then when she says that to him, and he's saying, well, but she doesn't know you, and she says, but I'm her queen. I was like, Dany, seriously? You're going to threaten Sansa here? She's not being very practical about
like,
things.
It's, if like it was okay for her to just arrive a Marine, rock up, being like, hey, I'm in charge now because slavers are bad. But like, Westeros is obviously different because everyone's, not saying everyone's nicer in Westeros by default, but like, just imagine if, like, because, you know, America, like, has, like, we go to Iraq and just we occupy Vietnam and we do stuff like that. Like, imagine if, like, South Korea just came and occupied us and, like, oh, I guess Kim Jong-un's our leader. Like, imagine how we'd feel.
Right,
obviously.
exactly. And I think she does not have the level of sensitivity to that probably that she needs, even though she's been told, and I'm sure Tyrion has probably tried to tell her too, even though we haven't seen it. But these are people who are, for one thing, they're just trying to live their lives, but they're also a very different type of person than she's used to being with. You know, they go by the old ways.
They're stubborn as she is.
They're stubborn, and they, you know, it reminds me a little bit of like Southerners and being unaccepting of outsiders and everything. So it's really very surprising to me, though, that she's not a little more sensitive to that. But again, it might be part of moving the story along.
Yeah, as fast as it can, but it's hard. It's so hard. I can't imagine how hard, like, at gunpoint these writers are, doing all this insanity.
And that's why I almost don't want to say anything negative because I don't want to quibble.
Yeah, because it was an awesome episode. It was great. It was just, it was classic, opening episode to a season. Yeah, I'm so excited to see what happens with Dany and stuff because she's been obsessed with becoming the queen. But at the same time, I mean, everyone's like, Davos says, like, in all the Seven Kingdoms, all their crap history, like, we need a new government. Like, is she gonna realize like this doesn't work? If she's like, hey, we're making you king. Oh, you're not king. Well, I guess we're all, like when Sansa, like, I get how like the Northern Lords are upset, but when Sansa said Lord Glover left and went back to like Fort Mont or whatever. Like, that is treason on your king that you used to have and the queen you definitely have, who has 2 full-grown hungry dragons. Like, abandoning the biggest military history act of selflessness in defense of the North to lead. Because if
Yeah.
Lord Umber leaves, who knows? Lord Glover leaves, who else is going to leave? I was so mad at that.
Yeah, I was too. And again, I think it shows that they just don't really get it. They really don't get what's going on and how they think that they can survive. And to just walk away and to not trust John. And you're right. When you said they were fickle before, I think you're exactly right. They have been pretty fickle.
And they have right to be that way, like fickle, like, in season 6 and 4 and 5. But it's the apocalypse,
Right,
But
I
they
know.
have, well, I think we're almost out of time here. But we'll talk about the last scene with Tormund, and he finds Ed at House Umber.
Yes, it was Umber, right.
Yes, right,
Yes.
because they had the chains, like the cross chains.
Yes.
And him finding Ed, and he's like, his eyes are blue, and it's like, my
Yeah,
eyes have
that
always
was
been
great.
blue.
My
Like,
eyes are always blue.
I feel like
love
I'm
that.
about to hear like the Seinfeld, like down, down,
Right.
down.
Yeah, and I love Tormund anyway. I think he's awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, but that was great because Ed was about to kill him for sure.
Yeah, that was it was definitely so
Yeah.
creepy. And like when they found the body of the little
Oh.
boy Umber,
Oh,
how scared were
man.
you when his eyes out of frame opened up? Gosh.
Yeah, I jumped. I mean, I was like literally just freaking out. And,
was-
and that was obvious that he wouldn't really be dead, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't have time to think about
Exactly.
that before it happened. So, yeah, that was really
That's
scary.
the most terrifying scream. He's like, ah!
Oh, yeah,
Like,
then that too. Like
he's a
when they
kid.
killed him, the way he sounds when he was dying.
And like the fire
Oh,
ignited the whole spiral.
Right.
It's like, dang. I mean,
Yeah.
so that means like I was curious because like now the White Walkers broke through in season 7. I'm like, okay, guys, you guys gotta like John, you gotta haul butt to get to
I
Winterfell
know,
in
I
time.
know,
But I guess
right.
I mean I don't get why I guess the White Walkers love to be dramatic, but why don't they just make all their whites sprint? Because he has a dragon who can fly. Like how much distance
Yeah.
is between? There's a lot of distance between Winterfell and the Wall. But still, enough time for John to take a sweet time riding a boat to Winterfell. I mean, I guess they're just walking slowly.
Yeah, and the timing is kind of confusing to me sometimes too. I'm not sure when exactly things happen within the story.
It's
and-
strange, but definitely
yeah.
because like Qyburn tells Cersei that the wall has fallen, which I guess maybe it only takes like a few days for Raven to fly that fast to get to the
Yeah, I
south.
guess so,
How
right.
that works. Just general theories as well. Man, I'm trying to think of what I'm going through my notes here. Anything else you want to say about the episode in general, or kind of theorize what happened?
No, go right ahead.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the last scene with Jamie.
Yes.
I think like what role does Jamie have? Oh wait, sorry, one more thing. Bronn.
Oh, yeah.
Bronn is he like? Do you think he'll kill Tyrion?
I really don't.
I don't.
I don't think
'Cause-
that. I can say I really don't think so.
It's weird because Bronn has always been like, give me a gold or I'll kill you or I'll whoever pays me the most. But like I feel like at this point in his life, like you just see him like he's with those sex workers,
Right.
And like he's just like, I hate everything. Just please, just get your job done. And then like they're like talking like a great clips.
Right,
It's like, come on,
right.
ladies. I guess things have really fallen since Lord Peter Baelish like
Exactly. He ran the good brothel.
Yeah,
so.
but just seeing him, like, I feel like he's old. He's an older sellsword now. I feel like he won't kill him, right? There's
I don't
no
think
way.
so. Because I think that Bronn, even though he does care about money and he is a sword or has been a sword, that ultimately he's got a good heart.
Kind of. I mean, he's
Yeah, it's. I know it's iffy, but I think ultimately he does, and I just can't see him killing Tyrion
Yeah.
or Jaime, to tell you the truth.
man, I gotta make some bets with people because it's like Bron's always been up for himself. I mean, if he had the choice between killing Tyrion and killing Cersei, and like it's because he even says like, oh, this effing family,
Right,
which is such-
exactly. Which sums everything up perfectly,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
So do you think? I don't. I guess I don't. I won't be surprised because, like I said, anything can happen.
Right,
Anything can
right.
happen. But you don't think Bronn will do it?
I don't. But well, like you say, anything could happen, but I really don't think he will.
Yeah. Another good thing to talk about is Jaime. So what role do you think Jaime has left to play in the story?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because I didn't watch the promo because I'm a coward and only children do that basically. But like when he's on trial, I mean, like he could get punished for killing since Dany is queen,
Right.
And then like so Dany is like I command you to die, Dracarys, and John's like, Jakar, no, actually, because I'm a rightful king, and everyone's like, what?
Right, exactly. But I think that just as in the past when she went after Varys for serving different
Kings and stuff.
kings, and I think that she can be talked into something in most situations, and it is not the time to try to deal with him. And she also knows that her father was a horrible person.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he'll die that way, but I think that he, more than anybody else, has gone through this character arc, I think, of redemption. And I mean, Theon's got a lot of redeeming to do, I guess, but Jaime,
he's done a lot of bad. Like, he basically started the War of the Five Kings pushing Bran out the window, because that's what led to Catelyn kidnapping Tyrion and what mobilized the armies. Like, Peter Baelish started it with poisoning Jon Arryn, but like, he pushed, like, when he saw Bran, like, that was an awesome moment. Like, you see his eyes, like, looks like he saw a ghost.
Right.
That's a great cliffhanger.
But you don't think Bran is going to be upset with him, do you?
I think Bran might roll up during the hearing and being like, if I didn't get pushed out that window, I would have never become the three-eyed raven. Everyone's like, what's a three-eyed raven? But I feel like he might be like, I'm the rightful lord of Winterfell because I'm blood and I command you not to kill Jaime Lannister. Like,
oh, that's interesting. That could happen.
Because how is Arya not gonna immediately slice his throat? Because, like, hey, didn't you push her brother out the window? Slice.
Yeah,
like,
but he was never on her list, though.
I guess, but like, think how mad, like, the Northern Lords, like, he killed Karstark's bastard. He killed, man.
But remember also, Brienne knows the real Jaime.
Yeah.
And people trust Brienne.
Like, if people are wanting reasons to hate Jon, I think letting the Kingslayer live is another thing to...
Well, right. You're right. Absolutely. And but he's never told the truth, like I said, to anybody but Brienne. And
yeah.
I don't know. I don't. But it was awesome to see that moment where he gets inside the gates and then Bran is staring right at him.
Yeah, that's cliffhanger. But just one more question real quick. We're just about out of time here. But did you think... I was hoping that Lyanna Mormont would be like, last time we lost a king was because he wanted to marry someone. Oh, this is very similar because Robb Stark was kind of a dum-dum for wanting...
You're right.
I'm hoping someone makes that comparison with Sansa is like, Robb was smart, but he decided to marry a foreigner too from Volantis.
I hadn't even thought about that.
If I was a Karstark or an Umber, I'd be like, yeah, dude, this is your fault because you are doing this. Like, this is what all Northern Lords have done in the past 5 years.
It's interesting that all of this bickering and all this stuff they do, you're right, they're not paying attention to the most important thing.
It's all pretty valid. Like, this just proves to Dany and, like, people who are old, like Varys and Tyrion and Davos, like, we need democracy. You know, like, this king, like, it's all crap.
Right.
It doesn't work out very well.
It doesn't. But they also were talking about how they're so old that they really don't matter anymore.
Yeah, but
so what are you going to do?
Then Varys says, like, nothing lasts.
Yes.
And, like, you know, looks at the camera and says, Dany will probably die in season 5 episodes or whatever.
Nobody's going to be left.
And then, so I think it wraps up for today. Hopefully we do have in the cast by next week. But this is awesome. I guess I'm just waiting for the next episode. I think you have a class to get to pretty soon.
Yes,
so.
Thank you, though. This was really fun. I appreciate you inviting me to do it. It was awesome.
Generally great episode. Like, the next episode's going to be Battle for Winterfell, I guess. I mean...
Oh, man. I can't wait.
There are 5 episodes left, right? Like, there has to be some battle tomorrow, right?
Right.
I mean, tomorrow, next week.
Right.
But...
I know. You're used to binging, right?
Yeah, I am.
But, yeah, it's got to happen pretty quick here because I imagine it's going to last at least a couple of episodes. And then you have to deal with the aftermath of it, I assume. But I don't know.
Man.
I'm like you. I've tried to stay away from any spoilers or anything, so I'm just going to let it happen. Just see what happens.
So I'm excited. I think that ends it for today. I'm Drew.
I'm Becky.
Sweet.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.